Welcome to the She's Bold podcast. I'm Beth Whitman. Hey there. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the She's Bold podcast. Today's conversation is with running coach and fellow podcaster and fellow name sharer, Beth Baker. If you've ever considered running or exercising or even just trying to figure out other ways to incrementally improve your life, and hopefully you all have, that's why you're listening, you're going to really love this conversation. Before I get to that, I know I have some new listeners out there, and I think you folks would appreciate knowing what this podcast is all about. The She's Bold podcast is where I feature one-on-one in-person conversations with some pretty awesome women. These are best-selling authors, musicians, professional athletes, and non-professional athletes like today's guest, doctors, spiritual practitioners, and more. While they have a wide range of backgrounds and interests, you'll notice that they have insight and inspiration that's born out of remarkable circumstances or introspection and observations about themselves. So thank you for being here and joining me for another episode. I think we're at 103 now. Amazing. I think it's so important to hear these stories, to hear the struggles and backgrounds on others, because it makes us realize that we are capable of overcoming our setbacks. If others can do it, so can we. At least that's how I work. I want to know how women are making their way through the world. And from these conversations, I'm constantly picking up tips and gems of information that help me out and help shape me. One thing I will say, if you are new, go back to episode 100. There I did kind of a compilation of many of the guests that I've had over the last 2.5 years. And it's all about what they think being bold is, what their definition of that is. And that's a really great place to start. And then you can go back and listen to the back catalog. If you enjoy these conversations as much as I do, if you love listening to them and you find the slightest bit of inspiration, I want to hear from you. You can leave a review in iTunes. You can leave a message at 877-280-5170, or you can email me at beth@shesboldpodcast.com. I can't tell you really how much I love hearing from you folks and getting some feedback about what you're thinking, how these affect you, what you're doing, what you're learning about yourself. I do really appreciate it. You can also support me on Patreon. A big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Now, these folks enjoy the podcast and show their support with a monthly pledge of just $2 or more. Just $2. When you're a Patreon supporter, you have a chance to join our private Facebook group and participate in the conversation there. I also share some behind-the-scenes details about the podcast, and I give you a chance to submit questions to guests in advance. You'll also have access to bonus content, which is generally in the form of a question I ask of the guest, and I reserve it just for the Patreon supporters. Now, in the case of today's guest, you'll get to hear a truly amazing backstory about Beth, both about her having a child and more about her life growing up in Southern California. She touches upon it here in our conversation, but you're going to hear just amazing background on that. I was blown away, and I know that you will too. So Patreon supporters, just $2 a month. Go visit shesboldpodcast.com/Patreon, and you'll get all the details there. So today's guest is Beth Baker. You could say Beth is a reluctant Seattleite, and despite us both being here for quite a while, we only recently got connected when I was a guest on her podcast, Why We Run. And I'm going to be releasing that episode here soon so you can hear our full conversation, and that's where she's asking me the question. So it's kind of a fun role reversal that you'll get to hear. Like me, Beth didn't get into running because it was something she had done all her life. She got into it as an adult. And she had to navigate her way through it without a lot of mentorship or even really online information. Back then, it took her a year to work up to a 5K race. And once she did that, her trajectory was fast. But she still remembers her reluctance and the self-talk and the doubts that initially kept her from running in the first place. And that's why today she's a running coach, encouraging first-time runners, because she remembers what it was like to just start out. And really, you don't have to be a runner or have any interest in running to get inspired by this conversation and what it is that Beth does. Now, one fun note about her, she's got a great sense of humor and she is really funny. And she's a snorter when she laughs, and she wholeheartedly embraces that. So I just thought that was a fun thing to just kind of point out to you. So with that, enjoy this conversation with running coach Beth Baker. I've got my big 50 miler coming up at the end of September, which I've never done before. My
50 miles. Okay.
Yeah, 50 miler. My longest run has been in a race. It was a 50K, so about 31 miles.
Yeah.
And I just ran trails, 28 miles of trails.
Wow.
Not too long ago, like just before I left for my trip to Papua New Guinea. And that was a big deal because trail running takes so much. Oh, it takes so long.
Forever.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
My Garmin watch was running out of juice. I'm like, okay, I've got to be done.
Yeah.
But so 50 miler. And then I think that same day that I'm running the 50 miler, you are running a full marathon.
Yes.
You said.
Yes.
And which one is that?
At the Bellingham Bay up in Bellingham.
Yeah. So very close to Canada, north of Seattle.
Yeah.
Is that the first time you'll have run that marathon?
That marathon, yes. I try not to do them the same. I actually did Portland 5 times in a row, and I'll never do it again. But I like to do different ones.
Just to mix it up a little bit.
Just to see the sights and stuff.
And I think the fun thing for you, it seems like, is that you know a lot of people. Like period. You know a lot of people. That's one thing that I've learned about you in the short time that I've known you. You know everybody. But it must be fun going into these races because the clients that you're coaching. Do you call them clients?
I call them runners.
Runners.
Yeah,
okay. So the runners that you're coaching are participating in the events that you're doing.
Yeah.
So you have a couple of runners in the Bellingham one.
I have quite a few.
And they're first time marathoners.
I have a couple marathoners, first time marathoners. I have 2 half marathoners for the first time, and then a couple repeats, and then 5 people are doing the relay race or the relay for the marathon. So they're doing 5 miles and they're passing a baton and going off. So it's kind of a team.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that common in marathons?
It's being more and more common nowadays.
I don't even think I knew that was possible during a marathon.
Yeah. So
so they're trying to get more people on, not that more people need to run marathons, because it's been such an explosion, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
It's huge.
It's huge. Yeah.
But I guess it's good if you're getting like kind of beginner runners in.
Yeah. I don't hold the marathon sacred for a certain person. I know some people do, and that's fine. But I think it's a good goal for anybody to have if they want to do that kind of thing. It was very personal to me when I did my first marathon. The reason I wanted to do it was not because I wanted to lose weight or to do anything like that. It was definitely like a very specific personal goal that I wanted to run a marathon. And I wanted to run a marathon before I even knew how to run.
So you had it in your mind that you wanted to run a marathon.
Yes.
You had this big audacious
Yes.
goal.
And it seemed like there was no way in the world that I could do it.
Even though you wanted to do it.
Yes. I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon. Yeah.
So how does that come about? Like, how does that line of thinking come up that you want to do something when you don't even do the
thing?
the thing, right? You're not even doing like the thumbnail version,
right?
I
don't know. I think my brother's new girlfriend, who's now his wife, came to our house and just finished the LA marathon, and I never met anybody who did a marathon. This was a long time ago, but I hadn't. And she was, a darling girl. And I'm like, oh my God, you did a marathon? I'm like, that just sounds like you just came back from the Mars. It's still, and she's like, yeah, it was great. And it was hard. And so like, I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, I want to do that. And I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much time went by from when she talked about it and you said, yeah, I want to do a marathon, and then you actually like laced up a pair of shoes and went out?
I don't remember that, but I do remember it took me a whole year to do my first 5K.
Was that because you were just like running from here to the fence post?
Yes.
And then to the light post and to the corner and that kind of thing?
It was a lot of self-mutilation in my head, as far as I can't believe I can't run a block. I cried the first mile, or the first time I ran, because I was 26 years old. There was nothing wrong with me. And I just had this horror. It's like, I think about it to where a gambler looks at their credit card statement for the first time. It was just this kind of like, I can't believe I am in this sad of shape and I can't even run a mile, or not even a mile, like a couple blocks.
Do you think that you were in that bad of shape, or do you think it was just that? And I've described this on the podcast before, that it's like the first 2 minutes.
Right.
It's like your body is going, okay, what's going on here? I've got to get everything together.
Right. And I know that now, but at the time I thought, of course, women just, it's all about me. It's all about, where I'm at. And I just thought it was just a horrible and, out of shape person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was all about that. So getting over that first run and then going back and doing it again and doing it again and doing it again and getting hurt from bad shoes. I didn't have a proper bra. I wore 3 sports bras on top of each other.
Who gave you that advice?
Nobody did. They were just bouncy. I was getting bruises on my chin.
Oh, yeah. So you thought the way out of this is just to add another layer.
Yep, sling them down. Mm-hmm. And it was before the internet kind of stuff. And, you didn't really... you kind of
there's no resource.
Asked your friends. I mean, but I didn't really know anybody. So yeah, I just kind of kept at it in the first, and I took a whole year to do my first 5K. Mm-hmm. And I ran as slow as turtles can walk. Mm-hmm. But I ran, and I finished it. And then
do you remember your time?
Oh gosh, no, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I think they didn't have like post times. It was in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And then 6 weeks later, I did my first half marathon.
Wow, just 6 weeks later.
Yeah. So I knew that there was some kind of switch that needed to be flipped for people doing the first 3 miles and that whole thing. So that was very interesting to me, how that was happening. And when I talked to people, like, well, how did you do that? And I'm like, it's just those first 3 miles. It's just rough.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Well, like we said before, it's your body, mechanically and everything. It's like, warming up your car in the morning. It's just all the fluids aren't where they need to be. And it takes a lot of work for them to go off and get where they need to be. Your heart rate has to go from, resting to an exercise pace. And there's, a fight or flight thing that happens too for people who never exercised before, where they think that they're in danger.
Running from a lion.
Yeah. Or running for a saber-toothed tiger. And I think women too are just more vulnerable to that feeling as well. Because they are out in the open, they're, by themselves, and they have this extra layer of vulnerability that people are looking at them, I've heard that they feel like they're on stage, and that is another facet to their anxiousness.
Wow, I've never heard that before. Huh.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they feel like they're on stage.
Like everyone's looking at them.
And they're being judged. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So when I first started my business, which I'm sure we'll talk to you about, but I got started my business, and a few months later I got pregnant by surprise. I know how it works now, by the way.
You didn't then. You weren't sure.
Right. And I had more of my clients or runners were rounder and rounder the more pregnant I was. And I'm, just like, well, why don't you run by yourself? Like, well, I would need to run next to you because no one's looking at the fat girl because everyone's looking at the big pregnant girl. And I thought that was interesting that people felt self-conscious about running in general. And I guess I did too, but I just never thought that was normal. I thought that was by myself kind of a thing.
Yeah. I honestly, I've never heard that before.
Yeah. But and it's pretty common. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's just, that goes to show you kind of the different worlds that we're in.
Absolutely.
And mine went from non-runner to, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Mm-hmm. Runner, like to the extreme.
But do you think age has something to do with that, where you didn't give a fuck anymore? That could be a possibility too. Because I know the older I get, the less fucks I give.
No.
Okay.
I think mine is more because I'm used to like being a public speaker and saying, I'm trying to think of the right words for this, but more kind of having to be self-promotional.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It's like I have to be self-promotional, and I don't mind being out running.
Yeah, I could see that for you.
But it just never occurred to me that somebody would be self-conscious about it. Like I have a friend who, she said she never exercised before because she sweats tremendously.
Yeah.
And it always was really embarrassing for her. And I thought, oh my gosh, for so many years, for probably 40 plus years of her life, she avoided exercise because of this thing that probably most people never noticed before.
Right.
And but she knew it about herself.
Yeah.
And then she got over that hump and she figured out ways to wear head like sweatbands
Right, or
and that sort of thing, and then not care.
Yeah.
And it changed her life.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that there are women who, like you've said and you've experienced, and you've been talking to these women who, for whatever reason, maybe they are a little overweight, or maybe there's something about them that somebody told them once that they run funny.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, there's that too.
right. And then they're self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What we tell ourselves is just not fair.
Whatever you got told as well by, PE teachers, by, parents, sisters, that you really hold that tape in your head, and you need somebody to kind of unscramble it for you. But if you never had somebody to tell you that, then you still have that. It's really subconscious. It's really primal. It's it's in the root of people.
Right. Women don't exercise.
Or
sort of thing.
That thing.
Right. Or there's
it's not feminine. It's not
exactly. It's not feminine.
Right. Not strong is not sexy. I've heard everything. And just that it's also too from being in school, like running is punishment. Running is something that you do when you're get in trouble for a lot of athletes, or for a lot of school age athletes, and especially for women going through puberty, running becomes a whole different set of issues when you have boobs for the first time and you can't.
And you need 3 sports bras to hold them down.
Yes. So but that's what I say when I found Title IX, which is the sportswear company for women, that changed my life as far as having a right bra. So yeah.
And I think also there's a mindset that when you want something, you just figure it out.
Right. And that's instead of putting excuses where you really don't want it, or you really think, I'm going to do this just to watch myself fail. I really wanted this. And I never had that feeling before of finishing something. I had no idea what that felt like. So it was very interesting to me for me to do that.
We were talking before we started recording. I was telling you about my trip to Papua New Guinea, where that's always my 2.5 weeks or so where I cannot run.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, I cannot run during that time. And because I have these events coming up, I had to start like changing my mindset and thinking, okay, how am I going to run? And it involved a couple of treadmills, like getting on a treadmill a couple of times, which I've done in the past, but I really had to make space for it this time around. And walking, and it was at altitude, which is great because it put me into a different zone because I needed to get the cardio. So doing some high altitude, just really more kind of walking. Still couldn't run. And then when I was in Brisbane on my way home, I normally I would go to my hotel room and just like be exhausted after a tour. And I would just turn on Netflix or just kind of hang out in the room and watch TV and get ready for my flight the next morning. And this time I was like, okay, I had to figure something out rather than just sit here. So I just laced up, went out, and I found this loop it turns out it was a mile, and it was around this parking lot. And I just did this thing in circles for, 6 miles. So you do figure it out. And it's just like, people say, I don't have time to exercise.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, and hey, I'm guilty of this too.
Yeah.
You have time to watch 4 hours of The Good Fight or, some, Game of Thrones, for the third time.
Right. And it's hard too for anybody to take out that shame part instead of, like, well, you should be doing this. My thing is like, well, let's problem solve like you did with your run. Let's try to figure it out. Let's see what you tell me what you can give up, and then try to problem solve with that instead of like, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, because then that, self-shame and shame doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My neighbor is a runner, former neighbor. She moved away. But I remember her telling me like, oh, I'm training for a marathon. You do want to come out for a run like Sunday morning, 4 hours. I'm like, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
That's just stupid crazy. Like why would anyone want to train for a marathon? This was years ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, yeah, I have to kind of do that 4 days in a row, to get my miles in. It is a big deal.
No big deal. Like, you think
you figure it out.
Yeah, you figure it out.
You do figure it out. You just adjust.
Yeah.
You have to do that. So, well, let's go back. I do want to talk about your business because I think it's really, really important what you're doing. But I do want to go back in time and kind of get to know you and your history and what led up to not only running, but also what led up to your business. Because I find that really fascinating. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Southern California.
Oh, you did?
Totally.
Whereabouts?
Dude.
Totally dude. Yeah, like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Orange County area. Yeah. Laguna area. Yep.
Did you move from there up to Seattle?
No, I left Laguna down like as soon as I turned 18 years old, and I hijacked.
Did you not like it?
I hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
My parents were kind of, they grew up in the 50s. They had to play the game, and they were, I always call it the game. Like you buy a house, you have the kids, you have the house, and there's cars, and they were kind of taught that. And around I don't know how old I was, 11 or 12, they just cashed in their cards, and we're done with the game. And they bought a boat, sold the house, and moved on the boat.
So you were living on a boat?
So I was living on the boat.
Yeah.
So
do you have siblings?
Yeah, they all moved out by then.
Okay.
So yeah. And it was just like one of those things where it's like, oh, I kind of look around and everybody kind of looks the same down there. No judgment. I just didn't fit in, and I never fit in down there. So I kind of gave up the game too. And
what was different about you?
I don't know. It was, I'm still really shy, and I had the blonde hair and everything too. I just never fit in. Yeah, I never fit in. And now I could see in a good way, but I never, that's all you want to do is fit in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I am not a Jersey girl, except when I go back, I'm like, what do you mean? Like my hands throw up, but I know that feeling of, I tried the hairspray.
Yeah.
I tried the nails, and it didn't work for me. And then it came to Seattle, and I was like, this makes total sense. Yeah. So I get that not fitting in and not wanting to kind of keep up with what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. And so I moved to Northern California as soon as I could, and lived in Northern California. And then we moved here.
Whereabouts?
I lived in a small town called Chico.
Yeah, I know Chico.
Yeah.
I've been through Chico. I don't know it.
And then San Francisco for 10 years, and then up here.
Yeah. Did you like San Francisco?
I love San Francisco.
You did?
I did.
What did you love about it?
Everyone's very friendly. I like the pace. I don't think I would like the pace anymore. I was in my 20s. I love the art and the music and the soulness of it. Probably doesn't have as much soul as it used to, but people were just very genuine and they lived in San Francisco for a reason, even if it was a LGBTQ or
just the
people
diversity,
from Kansas. They just wanted to be in San Francisco to be a part of something left over from the 60s. So and we lived in the Haight, and it was pretty beautiful. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
And then when did you move up here?
We moved here in 2004. Yeah.
And are you digging it equally?
No. Seattle and I have a complicated relationship.
Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I don't think it minds. I don't think it listens to this podcast.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to insult your running people or anyone who.
I think everybody knows.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me about it.
No, I just think people are. It's just a hard city to live in as far as mental health, and the clouds and the people are very. A lot of people I've found have been very standoffish.
It's the nice ice.
Yes.
You know that phrase.
Yeah.
And the nice ice for listeners is people are really nice on the surface, but then they never return your calls or they never accept your invitation for coffee. Or
yes. Yeah. Or the Seattle freeze, it's called.
Yeah. Right.
The nice ice, I like that better though. And in having, people not show up for things, they'll say, we'll be there, and they won't show up. And I know it's a generalization, but it just is rough. I still haven't really found my community besides my runners. We have a kid. It's just, it's a struggle. So that's why I've been kind of going out and traveling more to go to other people and feel connected with people. Mm-hmm. So
when you say you going out to other people, do you mean just going to visit them in Seattle?
No,
or do you mean like you're traveling around?
Yeah.
You said you were away last weekend.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of that.
And so that's what I have to do, and that's fine. And my son's still in school. And
how old is your son?
He's 12. Yeah. Yeah. So that's okay.
And what keeps you here?
Basically him. We have a house here, and we went to Montana a few weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I like Montana a lot, and I like Northern California too. So we'll see what happens.
How does your husband handle it?
He's supportive, I think.
Is he more grounded here?
No, not really.
Okay.
But he grew up here. But he sees where I'm not happy here as far as when I feel like I need more.
So when your son turns 18, do you think you'll be out?
Yeah.
Montana?
So, Montana. Or someplace.
Yeah. Huh.
Someplace else.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you've been up here for how long?
For
15 years?
Math. Yeah.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been here 30 years from New Jersey. And I really like it.
From Jersey too, it's just the people are different this way too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very different. And like you said, kind of like San Francisco, super friendly. But yeah, that there is that nice ice kind of thing.
It's just funny.
Yeah. And the weather doesn't bother me. But I also travel a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I get out.
Yeah.
And people will say, "Oh my God, we've had rain for the last month." And I'll be like, "Really?"
Yeah.
Like,
my plants.
I was just in India. That's right. I was in India.
And the rain is such a gift too. And I hate complaining about the rain because I don't mind the rain, but it's a very I feel like it's like a bubble, like a dark bubble around you when the clouds come and just hang out for like 8 months, which is rough.
Yeah, but it's changed a lot.
It has changed a lot.
So
yes.
I remember when I first moved here, I could literally count on one hand the number of times that that the sun came out, like from October to June.
Yeah.
Like there was no sunshine. And now it's like 90 degrees in
yeah.
February,
right?
You know, and everybody's got decks. Mm-hmm. Nobody had decks, like, to eat outside. No restaurants. You wouldn't think about
outside seating was the thing. Yeah.
No, you would not. So yeah, I mean,
Patios.
that to me, like you can really tell the difference just like in the changes in the architecture.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
I like that. I mean, I remember you saying that before when I came to your house. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's right.
Yeah. Cause you couldn't do that before. I know. So anyway, it brought you to Seattle.
Yeah.
Then did you have a job when you came here?
I did. I worked in radio.
What'd you do?
I worked at a place called DMX. It was a satellite radio station up in Capitol Hill. And my background's in radio. I've been in radio forever.
But music.
Music, yes. And engineering, production. And yeah, I love music. So that's what my honey hole was.
Yeah. And we talked about this. I know when I was on your podcast, which is why we run.
Yeah.
And we talked about our love of radio in the background there.
Yeah. So, and I kind of was brought up by radio, and it seems like home to me whenever so I love radio and music in general. So,
did you stick with that job until
I started the business right in the middle or about a year after working there. So I was doing it as a side job, and then I got pregnant, and then I got laid off, and then I had my baby, and then I had my job full time. So it's a nice little.
So the transition from job to your own business wasn't, I'm quitting and I'm starting my own business.
No, that's the wrong way to do it.
It was a transition.
Yeah. I always hear about these people that are like, I can't wait to have enough, business in my small business to quit my job. I'm like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. It's like, gain some savings. I did it the wrong, I did it a different way.
Yeah.
It seems to be working out so far, but it's, I didn't have a cushion. I had 6 months of cushion.
Yeah. But you also didn't have the wishy-washiness.
Right. I didn't have the fire.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Of like, oh, should I do this
Yeah.
or should I not do it? What are the pros and cons?
Right.
It was just like it happened.
Right. And a supportive husband who has health insurance. God bless him. Yeah.
Yeah. That helps.
Yeah. But I was making equal amount. I pay for half of everything, and we've always been pretty good about that. So
that, you mean before your job or even now?
Even now.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah. Ever since I started the business.
So what was that transition like for
was
you
rough.
then? So, tell me about that. Which part of it was rough?
Well, I had a new baby.
Yeah.
And that was, we weren't, this is going to sound, but I hope somebody can relate to this. We weren't planning on having kids. We got a total surprise, and we love our kid very much, but our kid has been like a total science project to us.
Uh-huh.
We're like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And he's the coolest kid ever, and I love him to pieces. But after having a baby, I'm like, I wasn't supposed to do this. This wasn't supposed to happen, kind of a thing. So there was that, and then starting a business and not getting support from family and things like that. So we were up here by ourselves. My mom was here, but it wasn't helpful. I love you, Mom. She knows that. So it was just kind of this like, if I figured it out, and then also just not having any sleep whatsoever. But I had a nice 6-month window, so I was able to kind of get it done.
So 6-month window after your son was born.
Yeah. Kind of help. Yeah.
To not only get acclimated as a mom, but then to also start thinking seriously about the business.
Yeah. And I was doing ads on Craigslist, like, do you need a running coach? And I got traction from that. And, the bigger the social media wasn't a thing back then at all.
Right.
So when that came.
So if you get in on the early bits of that, that's
so
super
that
helpful.
was huge. Yeah. And then the economy crashed. So there was that.
And the economy crashing was not helpful to you?
It was weirdly helpful. That was when Groupon came about on the scene, and that sold like hotcakes. So it was this huge.
So you were able to sell your coaching services through Groupon.
And it was it was all groups. So it was basically, I was coaching people in these big groups. And that's when the magic of like running in packs and running with big people, a lot of, basically in groups, was an eye opener for me. Like, oh, people like this. It's safe, it's comforting, and then it's also super social.
The part of that story that I find most interesting, because my business started in a different but similar fashion, in that I left a job. I dramatically left a job that I hated. So that was the different part of it. But I left the job. And I had told myself for years that you couldn't make money in travel. Mm-hmm. And then I just thought, okay, I've got to figure out, I hate this job so much. I've got to figure out, how can I make money in travel? So I just switched my thinking. And that, just like I'm not a runner, how can I run? Mm-hmm. I had to switch that also. Then you start looking for opportunities and you start trying to figure that out. So with your business, you were open to it and things seemed to kind of work in your favor.
Yeah. And I had a life coach at the time who kind of showed me the path of intention and having an idea and then having an intention or an action behind that and then having results. And that's been my mantra.
But even then, there are some lucky things that happen. And I feel like you're skeptical.
I think luck is just getting out of the way of yourself.
True. But I also think it's being in tune with the universe, and that luck presents itself, like when you're doing the right thing. And so when I hear you tell a story about, well, like it was the early days of the internet. Yeah. So I started doing some social media stuff. And then there's this thing called Groupon. Yeah. And you know what? I haven't thought about Groupon in years. Right? I don't even know if they're still around. I think they are. So then there's this thing called Groupon. 2 years prior to you starting your business, somebody couldn't have predicted or like convinced you that there's going to be this thing where you can do this. And that's kind of the same thing with my business. It's like, there's no way I could have predicted, because 5 years before I started my business, like it was so expensive. I mean, it was still expensive when my first website was expensive, considering today's standards. Yeah. You couldn't do it yourself, for sure. So I had to pay somebody a lot of money to do it. But still, I had a website. Yeah. 5 years prior to that, nobody even knew what a website was. Right. And then just these things started happening where it was like, well, then there's social media, and then, there's Twitter and there's Facebook. And then these things start unfolding just to make it work. Now, somebody today, and I know that you do, like, I don't know if you train people to coach. Is that what you call it? Yeah. Okay. So you're training people to coach. It would be more difficult for someone today to do the thing that you are doing. Yes. So there's like this luck that is, and I like luck in air quotes, of timing and how everything just kind of works out. And the skill or the thing for someone else to come in and try to build a business. Like they can hear our conversation and they can say, well, gosh, I want to build a business, maybe not in running or maybe not in travel, but I want to do this other thing. There has to be, in a way, kind of this magical coming together of what works for that person, whatever. Do you think
that's the decision to do it? I feel like that's because you said before, like when you're like running and like you don't have time, you don't have this, but if you had the decision to do it, you get it done.
Well, and it's maybe, but there's things like I have, as part of my kind of business plan, I have maybe 5 silos. Yeah. And I want to do all of those silos, but they don't all work. Yeah. They don't all catch on. Yeah. And then I have to like put it aside. Yeah. And maybe I'll come back to it at another time. So I would say that maybe there's just sometimes not the timing's not right for a particular thing.
Maybe later, or maybe it'll turn to something. Yeah, it's just, that's the whole thing. Right.
Yeah. But so I do think that there is that. And because I'd like to think that in my business, either a particular destination or maybe like I've got these really nice like Be Bold bracelets and necklaces that I want to sell.
Yeah.
And like either like through Etsy or, through an online way to sell this stuff. But maybe it's just because I don't know if it's because I'm not putting enough energy into it, or it's just like maybe the technology has to catch up. So it's even easier for me to get this stuff online, or even easier to ship it, or, whatever that piece of the puzzle is that's missing. I'm just not sure. But I do think step one is being open to it and getting out of your own way.
Yes. Yeah.
There's times when I think I'm out of my own way, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah. You never know. That's the thing. You don't know what you don't know. So it's always kind of like one of those things, like you look back and, hindsight's 2020. You're like, oh, I was really, put my heels on the ground on this certain thing. Like for me, it was asking for help or disappointing people, and that really got in my way of growing my business. Because if I disappointed somebody, one person out of hundreds, that would kill me. So getting over that getting out of my own way for that part of it was important.
How do you work through that stuff?
Journal a lot. I was just being curious about it. Like, oh, that's kind of, that's feeling. That's a feeling. What's going on there? And just trying to open that up and see what's going on. And
getting to know yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And seeing if it's correct. And see if is that really true? Is that where that come from? Is that true? And then putting it to sleep or, whatever.
You mentioned working with a coach.
Yeah.
Does that still kind of come into play, or is it really more self-reflection and having the conversation with yourself at this point?
Yeah, I think I'm always kind of working on it. In general, there's always stuff to clear and get out of the way. I don't have a coach anymore, but I think we talked about this on my podcast. Like once you go behind the curtain, you're done for. It seems fine. So it's just it's kind of like almost like this. Not a habit, but a line of events that happens where it's like, okay, I'm afraid of doing that. Why am I afraid of doing that? What's going on? Is this true? Okay, then let's move on.
Mm-hmm. What are you afraid of right now?
Everything. I really am.
Really?
Oh
like what do you mean?
I'm afraid of disappointing people. I'm afraid of letting people down. I'm afraid of being stupid. I'm afraid of heights.
Of fights?
Of heights.
Oh, heights, yeah.
I'm afraid of, I'm even like, my chest is going a little crazy right now because I'm like, oh, there's all this stuff. But as long as I know it's there, I can go, okay, we're good. So, yeah.
So all of that stuff, does that all affect your business? Like, are you having to constantly work on that?
I think now it's more of a fuel. It kind of drives me a little bit to be a little bit better, to try to figure things out better, and to know that that's happening, not hating it, just going, okay, we're all along for the ride. Yeah.
Do you think that you're unique in that and having kind of those fears jumbled in there?
I think the more people I meet on that have been some kind of self-reflection or self-discovery are there, but I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe the people that you're working with, if that gets reflected back to you.
I definitely ask people questions if they are going through something, if they are afraid of something, or if they're not showing up. I'm like, hey, what's going on? They're committing to things and then not following through. And I always consider
committing to running.
Yeah, or committing to anything. And I always, that's another reason I like all my fears, because I can definitely see what you're doing, and I know that feeling. So I can relate to it and talk it out of people, or just, not necessarily call them out on it, because that's not fun, but definitely just make them maybe aware of it. I'm pretty good at that. That's my really superpower of. So that's why I kind of like my little, my little insecurities.
Interesting. So I forget how we got on this whole topic here, but so you started your business, you left your job.
Yeah.
It wasn't a dramatic like, I'm quitting, I'm out of here, I'm going to go start this business. So you had this transition period. Mm-hmm. started, this is where we left off. So you started advertising like on Craigslist and just looking around for people who might need coaching.
And just people who never run before. That was my kind of the thing.
That was your sweet spot.
Yeah, and I knew that because people kept coming up to me and asking me how I started running. I'm like, I didn't know either. This is how you do it. Yeah. And I had my business coach, she was, that's where we made a plan in like 5 minutes of how much I was going to charge. Like, honestly, it was like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh, go, goodness, this is happening. But it was just kind of like this quick, down and dirty business plan.
Yeah.
And it was
what year was that? That was 2008?
2006. Yeah.
Okay. So right before the crash.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
Things were tumbling.
Yeah. And so it was, it happened fast. And I love seeing the I knew in my heart, I love seeing the transformation of people from 0 to doing something, even 3 miles, which is a big deal. That's why I call it the running evolution, because it was the evolution of, the human spirit. Yeah.
So what kind of changes do you see in people when they go from 0 to, like, let's say 3 miles?
Just a belief that they can do it, that people, they're a lot stronger than they think they are, that a lot of it is that they think that running should be natural for everybody, and that if they just practice it and keep doing it, they'll get better. It's like that fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset, that people really have that fixed mindset that if I'm not a runner, I was told I wasn't a runner, it makes me feel awful when I run, and then working with that to get them to start doing it. And it's almost, some people, it's so funny. I'm fascinated by my runners. I've learned so much from them. People almost, I've had people like stop and cry, like after the first mile, because they're grieving the tape or whatever they thought that they had, and then they're doing something that they never ever thought they could do, and they actually start crying, and it's pretty cool. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, stop and cry, get it out. Feel the feeling. Let's run some more. But
so it's a big aha for people.
Yeah.
And then do you see that same kind of thing when they're actually in a race, or they do a 10K, or they do a marathon?
It depends on the person.
Marathon?
Yeah. I cried more after my first 5K than I did my first marathon, because I really didn't think I could do it. Yeah.
Most people think they can't do a marathon.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, if is that something that they can do or would want to do, or yeah.
I did a 5K kind of on a lark. It was like not the turkey trot, but it was like after Thanksgiving, it was like this kind of fun run.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I was like, kind of like, yeah, look at me go doing that.
Yeah.
But then it never occurred to me to do anything else beyond that. I just did it with some friends, and I thought I was hot shit, for doing that. But that was kind of it for me for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So describe your business, like exactly what you are doing with people and what kind of folks you're working with.
It's in the past, I'm kind of transitioning into a different thing now, but I work with groups of mostly women. We've had some guys in there, and the guys are always awesome, because they're like just showing up to see how they do it. We do a Couch to 5K class, and then after that, if they want to continue to run in our group, there's a membership program for that, to kind of run with other women that are awesome. And then we have a half marathon training program as well. It happens 2 to 3 times a year, and they all train together and run together it's non-competitive. We have a lot of people who are showing up for different reasons. So, and winning is not one of them. So we try to squelch that thing right away, and just getting to the finish line upright and smiling. That's the goal.
So group runs, are these people out on their own at all, or are they only meeting like a couple times a week and running?
It's whatever they want to get out of it. If they are motivated to run by themselves, then they can go ahead. But we have one long run group that meets every Saturday morning, and we do a long run. Tomorrow we're doing 10 miles.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think it's important to be in a group?
I think it's the accountability for sure, but it's just doing something hard with other people is super bonding. And it's this whole social thing. These women some of them have been together for, 12 years now. And they are so close, and you can't, hide behind anything after you've been running for about 10 miles. You just start kind of becoming this vulnerable little bunny, and the truth comes out. Problems get solved, or problems arise. Either problem solving or just getting it out. This is, a a great relief as
So
well.
it's very much a social
Very
thing.
social. Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of pace are you running?
It depends. We have people who do 9-minute miles, but then down to 14, up to, I should say
Yeah.
14-minute miles. We have a lady who brings her 2 kids in a double stroller. Those kids aren't small, which is totally badass.
And this is at Green Lake?
It's all the way, it's all around. But
you move around.
Mostly Green Lake, yeah. But it's because, I mean, I just, whenever I see them together, and they're like, just chit-chatting, and I'm like, hey, okay, you ready to run? They're like, still chit-chat. So, yeah. And it becomes this whole, like, buzz of, you know, and we have, I make everyone sign a contract from the very get-go that they can't say anything mean about each other or mean about themselves. So that takes that whole competitiveness.
And the judgment.
Yeah, because when you're insecure, you start getting judgy about other people. It takes that whole layer out, so it becomes this very supportive, loving thing.
Mm-hmm. And how many people generally show up for that?
Between 30 and 40.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Are you there every week?
No.
Or okay.
Yeah.
So it's got a life of its own.
Oh, totally.
Like you're the ringleader,
Yeah.
but it has a life of its
Yeah.
own.
And I feel like my imperfections always kind of play to my advantage because people will fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Which makes it feel nice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So is it just, so if you go to Green Lake, are you just running Green Lake, or are you starting there and you're running different routes?
You said mostly around Green Lake, but there are a couple of routes. It's been a little rough with the homelessness problem issue.
Around Green Lake?
Yeah, homelessness. So I'm trying to make people safe, and I think around Green Lake's been the easiest.
Oh, I see. So so running outside of Green Lake, just on some other path, there's concerns about not even just homelessness, but about other issues, about potential. And we have a mutual friend, Kelly Herron, who she was on the podcast too, who talked about her being attacked out of Golden Gardens.
And then my other friend Maria got attacked underneath the freeway where there was a campment too. And it's a bummer.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Do you do anything to protect yourself?
I run with other people. When I lived in San Francisco, I ran by myself with headphones, like the thing not to do ever. So I run with other people. If I run by myself, I have special headphones because I have to run with music that I can hear my surroundings. Yeah. But I don't have anything.
Do you use those, the aftershocks?
Yeah.
Where it sits above your ear. Yeah.
Those are awesome.
Yep, they are good.
Thank you, Kelly Heller.
Yeah, right.
So I've never been a paranoid person, but everyone has their comfort level. So
growing up in New Jersey and spending a lot of time in New York, I'm very paranoid. So I think that's what has made me a good traveler, is that I have this really heightened sense of awareness of my surroundings and everything that's going on. And I do run with a Jaybird Bluetooth headphones, but I just keep one earbud in.
That's a good way to do it too.
And for the most part, I think my routes are safe enough that I'm not worried, but I did, and especially now that the days are getting shorter, and I know with these long runs, I'm going to have to leave earlier in the morning, leave early in the morning when it's still dark. Yeah. I just got one of those Go Guards, which actually Kelly had recommended, which is a ring that has just a sharp end on it, so that if something does happen, I could at least scratch somebody. But it's too bad that we have to worry about it.
It's too bad. And I took a self-defense class. Thank you, Kelly, for that too. So I got that. But there's always more to do, and I can only do so much as far as that. Yeah.
Do you trail run?
Yeah, and I don't trail run by myself. That's it's just only because I do fall down all the time. So I'm like so I always run with somebody else.
Yeah, so you're better off with somebody else. Where do you trail run?
Up in the peaks over in Cougar, Tiger. Yeah.
Great. Maybe I'll pick your brain. I've been meeting the gals at Cougar Mountain on Saturday mornings. But I have to branch out and get some altitude and some elevation. So I'll have to ask you about that after the podcast, because I think I need to head out to Tiger Mountain for some crazy stuff. Do your siblings run?
Nope.
Where are they?
They're in California. My sister gets in and out of exercise every once in a while, but she does more like gym stuff. And my other sister has a heart issue. So I don't know if she can run. But it's so funny because when they do have to run for something, they talk to me, you'd be so proud. I'm like, well, I'm proud of you regardless of what you do. It's not the running.
I ran to the mailbox. Yeah.
So My dad runs. He's 75 and he runs almost every day.
Oh, wow. Has he been doing that for a long time?
Yeah, for the last 8 years. Yeah.
So you inspired him.
Well, he ran when I was a kid, but he stopped for a long time, and he got sober about 8 years ago, and then started running again. And that's he says it's like my cocktails, which I think is awesome. Yeah.
What do you think about that philosophy of changing one addiction to another?
I think it's a healthy addiction. Then go for it. Yeah. Everyone needs a vice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know some people kind of turn up their nose, but I think those are the people who are alcoholics. Saying, yeah, you're just trading one for another. Yeah, but you know what?
There's a lot of self-talk on those.
Yeah, I know. But I think if you're doing something that's healthy, then
one of my favorite runners is Benjamin Gibbard. He's the lead singer for that band, Beth Baker Cutie, and he stopped drinking a long time ago, and now is doing ultra marathons and kicking ass at them. He's like 6'7". He's really cute too, and but he's been very open about it, and he's like, yeah, this is my new drug of choice,
right?
And running is definitely my drug of choice for sure, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah. But you like your beer.
I do like beer.
Yes. Yeah, I've read, I've heard.
Not all the beer.
The word is out.
Yeah.
Well, I would think you would like Seattle because, I think when you talk about the soul of San Francisco, like you used that word, I thought that was really good. I connected with that because I just think, like, I've been in Seattle for a long time. And I think we've lost some of our soul because we have so much money that's come in here, and there's so many more people, and there's so much construction, and there's just so much more going on here. Yeah. But we used to be big craft brewing, and I know that there is still some of that. You can speak to that more than I can because I don't drink beer. But anyway, that whole thing, I was going to say, there must be some love for Seattle because of the craft beer scene. That
beer scene's pretty good. But that's another reason I like beer, is because it connects people with other people, and I love going out to beer tasting with my husband and talking. It's just it's a good connector, and that's why I like running too. It's a good connector. I like connecting people. Yeah.
So you said that you grew up kind of shy.
Yeah, I was told.
You are not now. What happened?
I was the fourth kid out of four kids, and my sisters are very alpha female. My mom's very alpha female.
All sisters.
And a brother.
And a brother.
Super shy, and
because of the three sisters, he's probably super shy.
And his wife is super outgoing as well. She's awesome. But I grew up in a mindset, in a tape, that if I couldn't be myself, or I couldn't be extrovert, or whatever you call it, because my sisters had that. And so I couldn't take their light, my mom, especially my mom too. So I'm just very guarded and stuff like that. So it's been like the last, 10 years. I'm like, no, there's enough light for everybody.
There's enough oxygen.
Yeah. And it also too, just, if you share your story and share yourself as a person, as a human, I think it helps people as well. So there's that as well.
Yeah, but you don't just share your story or connect with people. You connect with people.
I think that's it. Well, it's just from running with so many different kinds of people.
Yeah.
That's one thing, is I'm shy, but I don't get intimidated by anybody.
Yeah.
Just because I know everybody's story, because I've been pretty open with my story, and I know everyone's going through the shit. Everybody's going through the shit. If they haven't gone through the shit yet, they will. So everybody's, got some stuff going on, which is kind of beautiful.
Yeah. So when you say everybody goes through shit,
divorce, self-hatred, I always call it self-mutilization in their head.
Self-judgment.
Judgment, yeah. Parental things, even if their parents are older and they're grown-ass adults.
Or they've passed away.
Yeah, or passed away. Gosh, right? If you can't resolve that before they die, that's rough. And, having kids. And
you see running as a way through that, do you think?
Well, it's we talk about the vices. You can definitely run away from it for a period of time, and maybe figure some stuff out. So, but not. I mean, running. Like, do you like the actual process? Like, because for me, I think if I'm out on a run by myself, because I'm a solitary runner. When I'm out on a run by myself, I figure a lot of shit out. Yeah, so running away from it to figure it out. Yeah, to like process. Yeah, a lot of processing.
Running into it, I think.
Yeah,
is more.
Right. Yeah,
so,
and that's it happens one way or the other. Yeah. Sometimes I don't want to do dishes. I'm like, let's go for a run.
Let's go for a run. Yeah, I think I did that this morning. I gotta go run.
Yeah, I'll figure out how to do that on the run.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
So siblings,
Yeah.
not necessarily big into running, but your dad is,
dad
which
runs,
is
yeah.
totally cool. And
Yeah.
especially that he's come back around to that.
Yeah,
and
right?
his sobriety.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And I got to interview him on my podcast.
Oh, you did?
And it was like the thing, I'm just so happy I got to do that because he was super open about it. And yeah, it was really like one of those things where like I got, he's not that old, 75.
Yeah.
Super, super healthy.
Right.
But I have that for myself, for the rest of my life and my son's life too.
Are they still on the boat?
Yeah. They're in Catalina. They're on an island right now.
On
like,
Catalina, did
yeah,
you say?
For like 3 months.
Oh, nice. Hopefully there's good running there.
Yeah, there is. I've tried it.
You had something on your website that I found really interesting. Just a little quote that you had written, and it said, I believe that physical activity can change your life and generate power for those lives around you.
That's good. I said that?
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I just thought that was really wonderful. And you did talk a little bit about like kind of running and how it changes people because they then have a belief like, I can do that. Do you see it changing people's lives in other ways? And not just running, but just like physical activity, just getting up off the couch and making time for a walk?
Yeah, I think if sedentarianism, is that a word?
It's a good word.
It's a good word.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we should keep that.
We're going to hashtag that,
yes.
right? It's so detrimental to everything. If you're sitting around with a thought and you're just sitting there, it's just going to eat you alive. If you have no action behind it. And, that the whole spiral thought syndrome. And if you can move even to another room or out of, it just opens everything up. Yeah.
I joke that when I go for a run, like the miles go by if I'm really angry.
Yeah.
Because I can write the best emails, like I'm going to write an email to that person and then 3 miles goes by.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, what just happened?
Yeah.
And it may not be the best thing. Like some people might argue that you should really be more present when you're running.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But it certainly helps to, have something on your mind and kind of be working through it.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good.
I think too, like if I was mad at somebody, I can definitely process it and go, oh, I guess I did screw up and that maybe I was not nice there. And okay. And then, compassion all around. And
that's true.
Come back to
right. Because it gives you that time to think about things and to see both sides.
Yeah.
Because I've done the same thing too. It's like, oh, well, if I was in their shoes or the like a great thing is I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've done what they did to me. I've done that before. So, just kind of back off. And then how do you think then that it generates power for those around you?
On different layers, it's the ripple effect of, if you are taking care of yourself in a community, and people are seeing that, you got people who might want to do that too. If you're doing that if I see you doing it, might inspire me to do it. You showing up as a person, a healthy person, and I always think of running as an addiction because you have to do it daily. But I feel for myself that I am such a better person, a mother, a wife, a business owner, all the things when I'm done with my run. I can't, it's just like this, hey, everybody, kind of, when I'm done, and I think that helps an environment of some sort. And I think just the general state of the world. I think if everybody ran, it'd be a much happier world.
Or just move their bodies.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And I always mean just moving.
Yeah, just
forward.
being active.
Yes,
right.
moving forward.
Because some people will argue that there's no way that they can run because they have bad knees or bad ankles. Or
yes.
But yeah,
all day long.
Yes, just having some kind of physical activity.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you there. That it does expand, and certainly when it's kind of the cliche of putting the mask on yourself first on an airplane, because when you take care of yourself,
you take care of others.
Yeah.
And I feel I end every run with the most grateful heart that I am able to move, that I'm able to soak up the air around me. And I think, gratefulness is just such a superpower of its own. And I feel that, whatever comes my way that day, I'm like, just well, you got it.
Yeah.
It'll be fine, you know.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
I spent so many years not running and telling myself I wasn't a runner that when I do go out, I'm just like, I'm delighted.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wow, I get to do this because I never thought that I could. And it's really special.
Yeah, it's very special. I love that.
Yeah. You had mentioned also, I think on your website, you had said something about you consider yourself a runner and not an athlete.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I'm slowly changing that tape in my head.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Because I am an athlete by physiological standards. I was just at a running camp last weekend. And the reason I put that out there is because I don't, this is going to sound terrible. I don't like to talk about running. It really kind of bores me just because I don't run for a reason that a lot of people do run is to get a faster time or what their pace is or what their next marathon is or anything like that. That bores me unless somebody is just super, I don't know, if they're I don't know, but it's because I hear it so much and I'm around people who I understand it's a great connector. It's a great conversation starter. It's a way for people to kind of get together and talk about a common interest. And I know like professional athletes and it's just so funny because I'm like, I don't want to talk about running.
Yeah, but that's not the difference between a runner and an athlete.
But that's what I would consider an athlete. It's like, that's their whole world and it's their whole, like everything.
I see.
And I know that I'm an athlete for the things that I can do, but not my mindset as far as like, I am a runner, but it's not who I am, which is it might sound very weird.
Okay. No, I didn't consider myself a runner until I lost a toenail.
Oh, yeah.
After my first marathon.
And that's the thing too, people that don't call themselves runners.
Yeah.
And when they run and I go, you're a runner. And it's just, and I had the same hiccup.
Yeah.
And I think I just wrote about this, that I didn't call myself a runner until I got injured where I was told not to run. And I'm like, well, I have to run.
Yeah, because I'm a runner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Caught myself.
Right. There's a belief, maybe from non-runners or non-athletes, that I think spills over into people, especially when they first start becoming active, that it's a selfish act. Do you get that? Do you get that kind of feedback or concern from people when you first start coaching them?
Especially mothers, and I'm a mom. And I think, honestly, this is like me being real honest, is that I think that's why I started my business, for me to validate and justify running. So, I totally get that. And now I'm preaching to everyone. I'm like, well, you have to make time for yourself and you have to do this for yourself. And I'm like,
they're like, shut up.
So reason that you have your business again. But I know I see the light and the whole selfish term is just so outdated and it's so archaic. And I think it's like I always call it the patriarchy of, the men holding us down and, you should be there for everybody else and not for yourself.
Right.
And I think that's been, generations and generations of talk. And I don't think it's true. Yeah. So, and I believe I know it's not true that you have to.
Do you think that same stigma applies to men though?
No.
Not at all.
I always tell my runners, like, what would a dude do?
Yeah.
They would run.
Right. And not
even think about
it.
No,
yeah.
We've been just told for generations that to take care of others.
Right. And that as the woman, I'm thinking of a guy who's training for a triathlon, who's spending a lot of time at the gym and at the pool and running and biking. And it's expected that his wife would, things are changing, but it's probably expected that his wife is going to be supportive and taking care of the kids. And cooking and
I always see
in the process.
I always see, and I see a lot of my husband just started, doing triathlons and I just had my second baby. And I'm like, And I'm like, well, what are you doing for yourself? And it's a muckraker. So, everyone's got their own thing.
Yeah. It certainly has helped me having a travel business because when John and I we've been together for almost 20 years, but when we first got together, I was traveling on my own. I was just an independent traveler. Yeah. And that didn't suit him so well, But he was also in a job where he couldn't travel all the time. Yeah. Couldn't travel as much as I did. But then having a business, it's kind of that same thing. Yeah. It's like, well, this is my job now. This is how I make a living. Yeah. So it's all justified.
Yeah. And that's why it's been so important for me to make the equal amount of money that my husband and I pay half of the mortgage. And that's my own money stuff too. Right. So I can hold a different podcast about that.
I know. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of self-talk
So yeah, but it's a thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, good. So now you have your business, which is awesome.
Yeah, right.
And I do think, and I will say too, because I brought up that question about whether it's a selfish act, because when I first started working out, I started by doing P90X like years ago. And that was my first kind of foray into being an athlete or, working out at all, kind of taking care of myself. And at that time I thought this is kind of selfish and a little egotistical because it's changing my body and my body looks better than it did. So there's an egotistical thing going on there. So it has to be a little selfish. But now I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like we all should be taking better care of ourselves. And like you said, there's nothing like selfish is an archaic word. Whether you're male or female, we should all be looking at every day. We should be looking at our decisions and trying to figure out ways that we can be better in our bodies.
But I think a lot of people think that and I am totally guilty of this, that people work out to look better. And I always held the belief that if you're trying to look better, then you are an egomaniac and that you're vain, and those are bad things to be. And now I know better that being vain is fine. Being an egomaniac is not the best thing, but it's just the lessons that you get out of all of the hard work that you are doing to yourself for yourself. That's what I always get out of like running. This is a decision I made that was hard. It is pushing my body to doing something that wasn't supposed, or I didn't think it was be able to do. And it is only for myself. So I'm just learning all of this. That's why the self-discovery thing is just so important to me, because I've learned so much about myself, and I feel like I'm being a better human by those lessons, not necessarily the running.
What's the typical pushback that you hear from your runners? Do they get pushback from their families, or is it all just in their own mind?
Well, a lot of pushback. So this pushback from anything about anything is just a validation in your head. So if you hear pushback and it doesn't affect you, because you never had it in your head.
Yeah, right.
If you have pushback and they're like, I knew it. And so I'm like, that's kind of something to self-check yourself about. But I hear a lot of like mothers of people like, oh, your knees, it's not good for your knees. It's going to make you fat, which I think is hysterical.
People say that?
Oh, yeah. And bulky, it's going to, it's selfish. Yeah. And then hear that from their, mothers or. So
there's that kind of thing that people get laid on them, because I hear that stuff all the time. Isn't it hard on your body? Boy, how are your knees? Watch your hips, like your feet. I get all of that stuff. But I was actually expecting you to say like the husbands were disappointed that they were out of the house.
Well, that happens sometimes too. But I have also been told more so that their husbands are so much more appreciative of the running. Their sex is better. They're more patient. They're, eating healthier, which it trickles down into the family. And my husband was apprehensive, like, why do you need a running class? I hear that a lot. You just go run. And then I tell him, like, well, you need to be in a supported area that will allow you to do.
So even your husband was wondering why you were doing
it
no,
my
groups?
husband, no.
I see.
Other husbands, yeah.
The other husbands, okay.
Yeah, and the other thing was too, like, I tried to run with my husband, I almost got divorced. So I want to run with somebody who gets it. Yeah.
It's like playing golf with
right, or anything. Yeah.
Oh, funny. What's a typical running week look like for you?
I do a long run on Saturday. I trail
with your group.
Yeah, I trail run.
Is it always like 10 miles?
Yeah, I have to kind of go up a little bit. I did a 17-mile last Sunday, and then so I have to do
with a group with people.
I went to the Wizell. There's a brand, women's running brand called Wizell. They make beautiful clothes, by the way. I love them. But they had a big, huge camp in the Poconos last weekend.
Oh no! Oh, I did hear about that.
Yeah, and so I went there, and they had a big group run
fun.
in the Poconos. It was great. Yeah, so that was fun.
Neat.
And then but I'll have a long run on Saturday, and then a trail run on Friday, and then I have usually between 9 and 6 miles trickled out through the week. But Sundays are my day off.
So Sunday you take off, and then when you say 6 to 9, you mean daily. You're running 6 to 9 miles on a daily basis. So your typical week is what, 40 miles or so?
I don't know. I don't
You don't
keep
pay
track
attention of it. Yeah. Do you use like a GPS watch or anything? You just go out.
Yeah.
That doesn't drive you crazy?
No.
You don't care?
No. I go solo too. That helps a lot. I've been doing Strava just because it's a social media like connector, but that's it.
But don't you need a Garmin watch or something to do Strava?
No, there's an app. There's an app for that.
Well, I have the app, but
Yeah.
does that have a GPS? Does that, okay, I guess I never paid attention to that before because I thought it dumped my stuff in from Garmin.
Yeah.
I think my Strava's connected to my Garmin, so it dumps in there.
Yeah. But when I first started running, I had a calculator watch. And when I did my first marathon back before everything, I had a backpack full of cassette tapes, a 9,000-pound Walkman, yellow Sportsman.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And a couple extra batteries. You're talking about how your Garmin's would go dead.
Yeah.
It's in San Francisco, so you just run and then flip over the tape, stick in some more batteries, and then keep going.
Love it.
And I remember like the worst feeling in the world where you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Mother trucker.
The music's gone. And you got to have it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite running music?
Oh.
We did talk about Mr. Blue Skies.
Mr. Blue
being
Skies
like
pretty
the
good.
Best
I just
song.
heard Rosalita. By Bruce Springsteen over here, and I'm like, this is a good song.
It is.
Yeah, because it's really long and it goes down and comes
Yeah,
back
it
up.
does.
I do love Bruce Springsteen a lot. I'm sure you have it in your veins.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Billy Joel more so, but Bruce is good backup. Yeah.
I love The National as one of my favorite bands to run with.
The National, I don't know them.
They're pretty darn good, and like a lot of like Otis Redding, soul, Aretha Franklin has got that nice little groove. Mavis Staples and Staple Singers. It just kind of gets me. It's very soulful, so it just kind of engages my heart.
You mentioned KEXP, that the running thing. I did download that.
Yeah.
And for listeners, it's KEXP is a local radio station affiliated with the college, the university here. They're still right there. Or are they just located in the U District? I thought they were.
They are now in the Seattle Center. Oh, okay. Yeah, but they also they have an app as well, so you can download that.
Right. So they have there's a guy who runs, who is a runner, who has a streaming
podcast.
I don't know.
He's got a podcast.
It's okay. It is a podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm like, is it a radio show on what's the difference? I'm going through all this stuff in my head. Anyway, so he has a podcast and it's for runners and he curates his own music for it. But you know what? I found that I have to have my own curated music.
Right.
That it was a little bit slow for me. Like I know he does like, here's the warm up and here's the warm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, I tweak my mind to the hour, to the minute of where I think I'm going to be on a marathon. Yeah. So I've got to have it.
That's so funny because
totally locked in.
It's nice to have that anchor.
Yeah.
Right. And I like surprises. I like to oh, that's, I was in a dark spot and then some song comes on and wasn't expecting. I'm like, oh.
Well, I do like putting it on shuffle and kind of figuring out, but I'd like to have my music.
I had this great story where I was running the Portland Marathon, I think for the 5th time. And my thing is I don't listen to music till the 20th mile. Oh. And I couldn't get my little shuffle out of my pants. It was like stuck in my pants. Yeah. And I fell apart like a 2-year-old at the end of the long day at a music park who's had too much sugar. And I just had this big and this little sweet lady, I think she was 60 years old, was like, honey, can I help you?
She was running?
Yeah. Can I help you? I'm like, yeah. And she just pulled it down and I put it in. I'm like, thank you.
And then you're on your way.
I was on my way. And it was just like, I just was looking forward to it for so long.
Yeah. It was like dessert and then you couldn't have it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or just worse.
Yeah. I know. It's really important for me too. That music is for sure. Is there anything that we haven't covered here that you want to chat about?
Yeah, as I'm pivoting towards coaching other coaches for people who are looking to.
So that's the change that you're making at this point. Yeah. Because you had mentioned earlier that what you kind of were offering is changing from what. So now you're going more toward the actual training of other coaches. Yeah. Are you certified in some way?
I'm certified, yeah. Our RCA is the coaching certification you can get for running coaching. And I got it's a great program, but they just coach people who get faster. And there was nothing to get people to get started. So that's why I try to fill that hole with my certification.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Are there many coaches like you around the country that you know of? Or
no, there isn't. There's a Couch to 5K programs, but they're coached by usually guys. Which, no offense to guys, but I don't think they're as.
They don't have the same understanding.
Yes,
of what
just
women are going through.
Right. Yeah.
Boy, that's great. You do really provide an incredible service.
Thank you so much.
Really amazing. Like, I just think of how many people might be listening to this who, who have, they're telling them the same story that I told myself, that they're not runners, but without even trying, or that it's bad for you, which is just, I get emails from people about, people who run marathons have heart attacks.
They do.
Yeah.
But so does everybody else.
I know. So do people sitting on the couch eating potato chips.
Yeah.
It happens.
And potato chips taste so much better after a marathon.
Yeah. They taste pretty good anytime. I have a potato chip problem. That's like my one thing is like I can't have potato chips in the house because I'll just eat
it's the crunch.
No way could I have a Costco bag of potato chips.
Nope, gone.
I know. But now I don't know. I could go grab some. might go get some. So anyway, you're doing great stuff.
Thank you so much.
I do like to wrap these up by asking the guest, what does it mean to you to be bold?
For my definition of being bold is just knowing who you are and not being afraid of being it.
How do you find out who you are?
You ask a lot of questions and feel things out, see what works and doesn't work, and make some mistakes, make them fail a lot. I'm all about failing. I'm really good at failing. And
what do you fail at?
Just trying things and not working out. And, conversations, things like that. Just, day-to-day stuff. But then big things. I had another company for a while, and that failed. And, just doing stuff and getting lessons out of it, but you have to fail at those things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and not being afraid to fail.
Yeah. I don't think fail is a bad word.
Mm-hmm. And where can people find you?
I am at runningevolution.com. And then I have my coaching certification program is coachrunningevolution.com. And then I'm on the Instagram and Twitter at runningevolve, EVOLVE. That's my spelling test for the day.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'm really active on that stuff. I'm very funny.
You are very funny. I know you are.
I was looking for justification. And there you fail.
Yeah. You are very funny. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh my gosh,
and for
thank
sharing
you so
your story and, like I said, just your inspiration of encouraging women, especially because I know that's your biggest. That's your biggest thing is to get women out there. So.
I really appreciate it. It's been. I say I never get to talk about myself.
Yeah, good. Now you can talk about yourself.
Yes.
Awesome, and you have a great name too.
Beth Baker.
Thanks, Beth.
No problem.
If you're in the Seattle area and have ever considered running, but you think you're not capable, please check out Beth's website and services at runningevolution.com. I wish I had known about her when I first started running. It would have been great to have support from a group. And if you're not in the Seattle area, I'm sure there are groups you could find that will help you get started. For links to all the things we chatted about in this episode, go to shesboldpodcast.com/episodes, and there you will find the show notes for this and all of my other conversations. You can also find those links and show notes in whatever podcast app it is you're using to listen to this. If you'd like to support the show and let me know how much you are inspired by these conversations and how much you look forward to hearing all of these uplifting stories, yeah, I mean you. I know you are enjoying these. Go to shesboldpodcast.com/Patreon. Patreon supporters become part of our private Facebook group and get access to bonus content, which is usually in the form of a question I ask the guest. This week, you'll find out Beth's parenting skills and what it was in her childhood that makes her think that bringing up her son is like an experiment, because she talks about that. And it certainly doesn't come from how she was raised at all. And you're going to hear about that. Don't forget to check out my tours at wandertours.com. That's WANDER tours.com. I've got trips to Morocco, Papua New Guinea, and culinary tours to Seattle and Santa Fe coming up. I've actually got a trip to Ireland. I'm going to be heading off in October, but that trip is sold out. But in any case, if there are destinations that you'd like to go to, just shoot me a note and I'll see what I can do. You can connect with me by friending me on Facebook, and I'm WanderGal on Instagram. Ladies, you can join the Be Bold Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/BeBoldGroup for support and encouragement for whatever ways you're trying to be bold. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the She's Bold podcast. And until next time, be bold.